Either you got great noise suppression because nobody can hear your music.
All right. Well, good evening, everybody. I thought that you'll be able to hear the music tonight, but it's a technical difficulty. So grace, mercy, and peace be unto you from God our Father and our Lord Jesus Christ. Praise God for another opportunity and another ability to come into your homes and wherever you may be for what we described on tonight, especially through Facebook. Why not you? Why Not You is a ministry concept of the Calvary Baptist Church where we take time to explore careers, opportunities, and adventures that we as a people and community can explore and place ourselves into. And if not us, then someone else that's close to us. And so we are grateful to God how on tonight we're going to be talking about policing a couple of let's see about I think maybe good God now. Woo. Trayvon Martin's death started a vitriol throughout our community, and I'm saying the African American community in regards to policing. And at the end of the day, people were bamboozled to think that all police act in the same manner. But as a brother was awarded recognition on last Friday night, the question was asked of him was, why did you want to do policing? And his answer was clear. He wanted to make sure that he helped police his own community. And so on tonight, I have three very good friends that are going to talk to us. They all are retired police officers, and they all are a part. Two of them have the grace to be, but four of them, sorry, four of them are here, have the grace to be members of the Calvary Baptist Church, and one we're trying to pull in, and the other one, I don't know where he go, but we're going to try to pull him in as well. In Jesus' name, amen. So he smiled. He knew I was talking about him. Praise the Lord. Hallelujah. So all you got to do is give him the right hand of fellowship now, and we're good. And so we are grateful. We are grateful. We are grateful for each and every one of them. And what I'm going to do is, by God's grace and God's love, the president of the Westchester Rockland Guardian Association, who is my blood kin, I'm going to introduce him, and then he's going to introduce the other brothers that are on, because he knows the departments and the towns or the cities in which the officers once worked at. And then we will go in and ask questions. Now, for those of you that may ask a question through Facebook, Brother Jason is available. Brother Jason is available to get those questions to me. Those of you who are on Zoom, you have a question, we will do our best to get that question answered for you on tonight. It is my happy privilege and my honor to introduce Paul Hood. He will also let you know what rank he retired from. I would make an attempt, but then I'll mess up because I think it was captain or major or colonel, something like that. Was up there. You know, and he'll introduce the rest. Cousin Paul was known for community policing here in the city of White Plains, a concept that was great, a concept, unfortunately, that some people got rid of, and now is the major force in our community. Today, ironically enough, here at Calvary, I had to help with a Spanish congregation with policing on today, and my brothers, I asked him, was he a part of the community policing? And he said, that's where I want to head at. That's the unit I want to be a part of. I said, don't worry about it. You're talking to the right person. We're going to see what we can do about that. So Cousin Paul, if you would, Paul Hood, retired, father, elected official, on the Elmsford School Board, husband of one wife. I'm a member of. No, we with you. We're with you. Amen. We'll talk about that later. I'm a member of the Iota Phi Theta fraternity. Let's see. He's a Mason. He used to play. He used to could play ball real good. I mean, he's just all that. But more importantly, at the age of 28, he went into policing. And we're going to talk about that a little bit. Brother Wade told me a few minutes ago that him and Howard, amen, were old timers when they came in, because most police officers go in at an early age, maybe 22, 23, 24. But we're going to talk about that tonight. So Cousin Paul, introduce yourself, what you, because I know you worked at two police departments.
Right.
Share that, share your rank, the jobs that you did briefly, because I'm going to get into all that. Okay.
Okay. You got it. Good evening, everybody. Reverend Trowninger, officers, members of Calvary Baptist Church. I bring you greetings from the Westchester Rockland Guardians Association, and thank you for having us. The Guardians are an organization of African-American law enforcement officers, both active and retired. And we are police officers, correction officers, probation officers, district attorney investigators, and school resource officers. And we are a community group that we came together. We do a lot of work in the communities. We try to fill in a gap or a need wherever one is needed, whether it's raising funds for donations, clothing drives, toy drives, seminars such as this, where we talk about what to do when stopped by the police, we inform people of their rights. We also take it 2 steps further, where we, because of our diverse membership, we can advise people of their rights and what to expect in case they are sent to the county jail and or given probation. We cover all of that. So any questions that's asked, we can answer. And if we don't have the answer, we will get it for you. I've been a guardian probably for over 30 years. I've been the president. I just got installed for my 5th consecutive term. I don't know if I'm doing good or nobody else wants it. It's probably the second part, but we're growing like crazy. We are in demand. We've traveled far. I think we've exceeded what's been expected of us. I was 20 years in law enforcement. I started my career in White Plains, where I was the public housing drug elimination officer, where I was strictly assigned to White Plains public housing. I'm losing my voice. I did everything pertaining to public housing. And then at the halfway point, I transferred to the Village of Sleepy Hollow Police Department, where I was promoted to detective, and then sergeant, and then detective sergeant, where I was in charge of all the investigations that went on down there. I was a training officer. I held a variety of different positions, and as my position as a sergeant. I'm here today with 3 members of my executive board. We have Trustee Howard Tribble, who was retired from White Plains. He was a sergeant. We have our first vice president, retired as lieutenant in White Plains, Wade Hardy, who's now the deputy chief of investigators for the district attorney's office. And we have second vice president, Ricky Lee, who was a first grade detective in White Plains, who was responsible for investigating all the major crimes in White Plains during his career. So at that point, I'm gonna turn over to Wade Hardy to say a few words about yourself, Wade.
Thanks, Paul. Okay, I wasn't sure we were gonna go right to questions, but hi, I'm Wade Hardy. Like Paul said, first vice president, retired White Plains, currently working for the DA's office. I went to Woodlands High School, so I've been in the White Plains, Greenberg area my entire life. And joining the White Plains PD and working in my hometown, nothing better. I started when I was 22 years old. But I'm not going to talk more about me. We'll get into the questions. I'll pass it to Ricky.
Okay, thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Wade. Thank you, Reverend Trollinger, thank you for having us here today. My name is Rick Lee. Yeah, I'm a retired White Plains detective. Great career. Right now, presently working for West Cop, engaged in the community, always want to be engaged in the community. And we're just looking to assist and answer any questions as far as what we can do to service our community.
Right. Good evening, Calvary.
Good evening.
And welcome, family. It is so good to be in front of family and be with family. Pastor has introduced us. I will introduce myself again. I am Brother Howard Tribble. I am a past president of the Westchester Rockland Guardians Association. I served 30 years with the White Plains Police Department. As Pastor had said, I started at the age of 27. And my co-worker, Wade Hardy, at the time was 22. And he said I was one of the oldest ones in the academy. I didn't feel old at the time. And I jumped right in with the young folks and did everything I think that we needed to be done. During my career with the city of White Plains, I served in the patrol division. I started off, and then I went from there up to the detective division. I was assigned to the youth division, where I investigated crimes that was committed by young people or committed against young people. That gave me an opportunity to work in the community with a number of young people. Myself and Paul Hood and Wade, we also worked in the Winbrook housing complex, where we actually started a program called Say No to Drugs, which was a summer basketball league where we actually won an award for Heroes of Housing. From there, I became the first school resource officer for the city of White Plains, where I was assigned in uniform, and I went back to my old high school, White Plains High School, where I walked the halls each and every day that the young people was there. And it was a very rewarding experience for me. My job there was not to spy on the kids, but to make sure that once those young people and the teachers walked on campus, it was a safe environment for each and every one of them and each and every one of the visitors that came onto our campus. After serving 7 years as a school resource officer, I was promoted to the rank of sergeant, where I retired at the rank of sergeant. Again, I thank you for inviting us here. Hopefully we'll have a lot of questions, and we will generate enough interest that we will have some young people will think that the job that we did was rewarding enough, and they will look into it.
So let me ask a question from all of y'all, and as much as you can, be precise and focus on it. What led you into policing? What was the motive behind of going into policing? Anybody?
I'll start if you want. My mother. I needed a job. I had a young family, and I was going from job to job. And she said, "Hey, son, take the police test." At the time, I wasn't, feeling police officers. I was being stopped for driving while black, but I assumed my car was being searched. I was like, why do I want to be a police officer? Then I met a few officers that worked with my mother at the Albans department store. And I say, hey, these guys are cool. All cops aren't, what I think they are. So I took the White Plains police test, the state police test, and the Westchester County corrections exam. I scored well in all three, and White Plains hired me first. So it was the greatest move I've ever made, but it's because of my mother, Betty Hardy. And she might be watching on Facebook Live, and she is. Hey, Mom.
Hi, Miss Betty.
Next.
Well, I actually, after college, I came back to White Plains, and I wanted to be in White Plains because of where I grew up in, and because of what White Plains actually did for me and the people in this community. I felt that there was a need for me to give back to this community. I actually took the fireman's test along with the state troopers test. I had not taken the police test as of yet. And I went in for an interview for the fire department. And then Deputy Commissioner Motto pretty much steered me to the police department. Told me pretty much at point, you need to be a police officer because you'll waste your time with the fire department. So I took his advice and I took the police test and I scored high enough where I was considered for the job. I first actually started my career with the state police, and I was in the academy up in Albany. I went halfway through the academy there and found out that I could be transferred up to way upstate New York, you know, starting where, well, they have each one of their troops is given a letter. And one of my advisors says, yeah, you could go up to B Troop. And I said, well, where's B Troop at? You know, and I ran to the front of the academy and I looked at the map. B Troop started at Lake Placid and it worked its way up. And back in 1986, it literally, where state police was almost like fighting Indians at the time. They were going on the reservation. They were having a number of problems up there. And I didn't think that was a viable place for me to be way up in Lake Placid. I had taken the White Plains police test at the time, and my interview actually did come up while I was in the academy. So I came back down and accepted the job in White Plains.
Paul?
Slick Rick?
Apologies, my phone was going off. So I was blessed that my father was a White Plains police officer, and hopefully, Reverend, we'll talk about family involvement at some point in this conversation. But my father, not only is he my role model and my best friend, but he was a police officer. So I always looked up to my father, and my father being a police officer. So at that point, but I was actually in college, and he called me and he said, they're offering a test. You need to come home and take the test. And I said, okay. And I did. And that was the path set for me. So it was ingrained in me to do it, but it was because of my dad.
Okay. Okay. I had no thoughts of being a police officer. My father was a White Plains police officer, and my grandfather, the Reverend Sherman Neighbors, who was pastor in New Hope Institutional Baptist Church, was a county sheriff. He was a detective there. And I remember my grandmother, Hattie Neighbors, used to fuss at him all the time and tell him, you don't need to carry a gun, just carry a Bible. So my wife, actually, she was a police officer before me. She got hired with Wade and Howard, and she was doing minority recruitment. And I was on my way on Ferris Avenue to one of my part-time jobs. And she gave me an application. And I took the test. I took the correction officer's test. And I was actually going through the steps to become a correction officer when White Plains called. And my process had taken about 2 years. And I was getting the runaround. And I went to the president of the Westchester Rockland Guardians at the time. And he did a background investigation on me, and he went and he spoke up for me. And that's how I got hired. And I went to the academy. I was the president of my class. I was the class valedictorian, and I won the highest award. And I had a really good career. So I was really glad that this is the career direction that I chose, or that the Lord had in store for me.
Why do you think, all of you, why do you think policing can be a good career for anybody, and especially African Americans? But why should policing be considered a good career?
Okay, well, you go ahead. You want to go? Go ahead, Wade.
No, I said somebody else go first this time.
Okay. You actually have the opportunity to make a difference in your community
Wow.
because you understand your culture. So when you have to go on a call or you see people out in the community, you're given for the most part, you're given a certain amount of respect. There's still a small element that don't like the uniform that you represent, but you understand, you have a better understanding of what people may be going through because you are no different from them. Like for instance, there were people who that I encountered who may have been very sick, like had AIDS or something like that. And I would befriend them while I was on duty because I had family members who had suffered from that as well. And I knew from my experiences that they need love. You shouldn't ostracize them. And also I knew that from hugging people, you couldn't catch it. So I would go and sit with these people, men and women, or the parents. And I would talk to them and see if they needed anything. I'd even give them a ride in the police car. I was risking getting in trouble, but I understood. So, that's what I mean. You have a better understanding of what people are going through.
So wait, so you have just put a human feeling touch to policing that is not always known.
Right.
So you mean policing has a human touch connected to it? Anybody?
Yes.
So, yeah, so real quick, Rev, 100%. I grew up in White Plains on Ferris Avenue. Some people say, how do you police in your own community? And my answer is because I can help my community. And with that being said, there's so much that we can do. Our community needs people like us to see people like us and to understand people like us. So we need more of people of color to be able to deal with these situations because as we know, unfortunately, there are other people of other cultures or whatever that they don't know how to react or deal with people when they come into certain situations with us. But with that being said, it's important that we have people, because I was assigned to the Greenberg Project Housing, they put me down there for 5 years. So, and I love being down there. So that's so important. That's so important.
Wade, Howard, there's a human touch to policing?
Most definitely. Well, especially when you serve in the community that you grew up. One of the things that, it's your family that you're dealing with. So you learn to, first you have to be secure in who you are. So when you go out there, it is friends that you grew up with, it is family members, and you have to go out there and actually provide assistance to them. But then also when they do wrong, all right, you have to follow the guidelines of the law so that, it's going to come to a point where you are arresting family members and friends. And yeah, sometimes it is tough to do that, but that is something that you have to do, and as like I tell some of my friends, I didn't come out here looking for you. It's something that you did, all right? But you should be, not honored, but, thankful that I'm the one that's actually arresting you because I will make sure that you are treated with the utmost respect. I am not going to put anything else on you. And I'm going to walk you through the system, all right, and give you information as we go through it.
Yeah, we, like the Guardians believe that police officers should have the guardian mindset, not the warrior mindset. You can train someone with the guardian mindset to, use the police tactics to make an arrest, to apprehend someone, but to train someone with the warrior mindset, who thinks to go into war every day, to train that person to be someone with compassion and someone, that had to work, to have that community policing type mindset is complicated. I grew up in, with the Woodlands. I grew up, a lot of my friends lived in White Plains. I worked narcotics in White Plains for 13 years. So people say, how do you work drugs in the town you grew up in? And that was very complicated. When I first took the police test and I was going to get hired, the first thing I did, it was a guy who took numbers in my building. And I had to tell him, listen, tomorrow I'm going to be a police officer. So this hanging out in my lobby collecting numbers has to stop. And he said, no problem, Wade, So I wanted to make sure there's no conflicts, and my friends, the same thing. Friends who I knew that were into, different, businesses that were illegal. I told them, I'm a police officer now, so you got to keep this stuff away from me. But I Howard, I've arrested friends, I've arrested relatives, but I treat people when I arrested them like they're not bad people. They just, good people make bad decisions. Treat them with respect. And I see people today, I'm Facebook friends with people I've arrested. I saw a young man just recently on Martin Avenue, and he came and talked to me, and 20 years ago, he was running from me. Now he's talking to me, and he tells me he loves me and how much I affected his life. And, I love hearing those stories. So, the end of my career was community policing. And to me, that was the best part. I wish I had done that longer, because I could have probably steered some young people the right way before they got, too deep into a drug game. But, you can have the guardian mindset, work narcotics in your town. It is not easy. There's a lot of, emotional, stress that goes with it, because you are arresting. Sometimes you have to arrest a relative, someone you grew up with all your life. And, but like Paul and Howard said, they know when you arrest them, you're going to treat them with respect. And there's going to be no funny business. There's nothing, they're not going to get an extra punch, they're going to get kicked, not going to smack. It's going to be, if they resist, you got to use force to arrest them, but there's not going to be anything extra. And when you get inside, when you're away from the crowd, you talk, and then you can, sort of take them to the next, step, and, see what you can do for them. And so many people that I have arrested, when we get them inside, I'm like, okay, now let's talk about how to get you straight, how to get you out of this life. And, that was part of me growing up in the community.
Oh,
And Reverend, just one thing I just want to point out, and hopefully we kind of touch on this at some point if we can. Being people, law enforcement of color, we actually police the police. And what I mean by that is that obviously we know that there's some injustices, and obviously myself, Wade, Paul, Howard, we all have stories where we've seen some things that have occurred by law enforcement that we don't agree upon. But being people of the neighborhood, of the community, people of color, so we actually also police the police, and we make sure that we represent ourselves as people, not just as a police officer, but as people of the community.
so I was a part of reimagining or the reform of policing here in the city of White Plains. And of course, the group I was with was community policing, of course, and which was cool, and I enjoyed it. But you said something that most lay people don't hear. But when you said it just a few minutes ago, it was one thing that stood out to me. I need you to explain it a little bit better. And that was that there are some police that have a warrior mentality, and there are some police that understand that they are guardians. And could y'all let us understand your psychosis in regards to how either you were warriors or you were guardians, and what is that all about? The warrior mentality versus the guardian mentality.
Well, since I brought it up, I guess I'll go first. Like I said, the warrior mentality starts with the letters WAR, war, means you're the guy when they interview you, why do you want to be a police officer? I want to chase the bad guys. I want to catch bank robbers. I want to kick down doors. And then the person with the guardian mentality, why do you want to be a police officer? I want to help people. I want to service the community. I want to improve relationships in the community. I want to empower people. I want to make everybody stronger. Like Paul, we always say with the Guardians, we get stronger by we rise by lifting others. So that's the Guardian mentality. And you can teach that person police tactics. You can teach that person to be safe on car stops. You don't have to be a warrior. You don't have to have all the guns and the tattoos and the skull and crossbow on your chest. That's not necessary to be a good police officer. Those days of policing are over. And like Rev, I was on the police reform committee with you, and we discussed that and Ricky mentioned the fact that we were there to police the police. Back in the 80s, we didn't have duty to intervene. We didn't have implicit bias training. We didn't have a Project Able, active bystander law enforcement. So when police officers saw someone doing something wrong, we didn't know what to do, who to tell. Now there's all, with reform, there's processes and procedures in place that directs police officers. If you see that officer doing something wrong, it's your duty to do something about it, which is great. So now, and police leaders and chiefs are looking for police officers with that guardian mindset. Now they're aware of it. Anybody else?
Also, the guardian mentality is someone that comes in with protector and a person that is, my job is to protect my community or the community that I am serving. When you look on the side of the police cars, that's what it says, to protect and serve. Those are people who are guardians. Yes, you can teach them to do certain things. And if times get tough, if they get out there and get into a fight, all right, they can be as tough as the next person. But once that person that they are dealing with is subdued and put in the handcuffs, then they are to jump back on the other side of the fence and become then a protector. Because then we understand that the person that now you're dealing with, even though you had to fight with him and you had to be as mean as he was, all right, to get him under control. But once you got him under control, then you collected yourself. And then you had now, because it is your responsibility to protect that person because they are part of that community that you're serving.
Here we are. I don't think that any of us throughout the course of our 20 some odd year careers each have ever had to really go to that level in order to get somebody under control because of the relationships that we had established in the areas that we worked. And I can give you some examples. I remember one time when I was inside headquarters and one of my counterparts said to me, how do you deal with those people over there? Talking about the people over in public housing. And I remember like it was yesterday, my answer to him was, they're no different from me. And that was the end of the conversation. So, and not only were we protectors sometimes of the people in the community, we were also protecting our coworkers. Because sometimes if stuff was getting ready to hit the fan, they get behind us. We became the voice of reason for everybody.
Exactly.
Rick, I see you clapping your hand about that. So, here goes the sucker punch, okay? So, Black Lives Matters comes up. And I don't know if I was telling Wade or telling somebody, but I never forget, it's one of my first protests here in the city of White Plains, one I didn't organize. And we're at here. We're at the old Walmart and everybody's gathered together and we're marching. And I'm part of the marching, me and Reverend Williamson, we're marching with the people. I don't even know who organized the march, come to think about it, but we're there, Black Lives Matter, we're marching, we go down, leave from Walmart, hook a right on Broadway, go down that little hill, head towards the Westchester Mall, go down that street, go up that street. The reason why I'm saying all that, because when we had a die-in, you know, when we just, all the protesters just die, I was so happy to die. I was so tired. I said, please, let's die. Please, let's lay down just for a little while. I'll never forget that part. But what happened was, during that protest, they start saying some derogatory words about the police. And I said, I can't say that. I can't do that chant, because first of all, that chant is a blanket statement over everybody. Then I couldn't say it because the fact of Paul Hood and Cynthia Hood. None of that made any sense to me whatsoever, because what you're saying in this chant, my cousins did not represent that. So during the Black Lives Matters protests all over the place, and we know it exploded real crazy with George Floyd, how, as former police officers and getting people that want to be a part of policing, what was your conversations? And yeah, what was your conversations among yourselves? And what was your conversations to trying to recruit brothers and sisters and Latinos, you know, and Asians to join this thing that everybody is like, I don't want to be a part of that, you know? So how was it?
Well, if you guys don't mind, I can kind of jump in on that one real quick. So my outlook on it is, again, I work for a company, social service company now, Westcop, and how we approach that. And actually, I'm also the membership application committee for the Westchester Rockland Guardians. So we, as far as getting new applicants to come join the organization, but very quickly, people do want to make a change, and that is so important. And not everybody has that same mentality, and some people jump on the boat or whatever, you know, and it is what it is. But the reality of it is, whereas 90% of what police officers do is positive, and that's not advertised, you know, but the smaller percentage, when an officer does something in a negative view, then that gets publicized. So that 95% of the good that law enforcement does never really gets recognized, but that 5% does. So the selling point or the advertisement point, or, you know, people that really want to do good in the community is, hey, listen, if you want to do something positive in the community, make that change. Make that change. Come, and, you know, it's almost like voting. If you don't vote, then your voice is not heard, but you have to vote. So it's kind of that same type of thing. If you want to attempt to make that change in your community, then do something about it. And by joining the police department, there's a possibility you can make that change. You can be a Paul Hood, you can be a Howard Tribble, you can be a Wade Hardy, and really make that change in your community.
One of the first things that we did after George Floyd was, we were probably one of the first groups to hold a rally. And we held a rally in the park right there on Broadway, and we invited everybody, you know, and we got a call from some of the police chiefs in the county that were concerned about should they wear their uniform. And we said, absolutely, because we want everybody to know who you are and that we can all do this together. And it came across very well. With a lot of politicians there, a lot of police chiefs, people from all over the county, police unions, presidents, and everything. And everybody came together, and it was a mix. you know, and because we wanted to promote that unity. We're not about bashing. It's about highlighting the good, but understanding that there are some things that could be better, and we have to address them and work on them. Once the rally was over, they loved it, man. You know, a lot of them came to us and said, "Thank you guys for doing this. This is what we needed." And even the community, if they drove by, they were beeping the horns in support. So, you know, once this happened, like we got together and said, we got to do something. And that's one of the first things we did. We were one of the first ones. We held a massive rally in White Plains, bringing everybody together.
Yeah, and also that rally, we planned it on Saturday and we had it on Monday. So 2 days we got that thing together. But going to what Rick said about being part of the change, yes, one of the recruiting things that we tell people is, you know, if you want to, don't complain about policing, come to the inside and change it from the inside. And going back to what Paul said about the police chiefs, you know, we talked to the chiefs and they also have a desire to hire more people of color on their police forces. And they provided, there's a police exam that happens like every 4 years. So it's not that often. There's a study course for the exam, and the study course, I think, is like $150. And a lot of people, you know, you can afford it, some people can, but the police chiefs gave the Guardians 35 scholarships for that exam for us to give to people of color. And we used every single one. They actually gave us 25. We gave those out to people. So we asked, "Can you have any more?" And he says, yeah. How many more do you need? And we used, 10 more. So 35 people were able to study for the police exam because of the relationship we have with the police chiefs. And then we pushed, we pushed people, need to take this test, you need to think about joining the police force. I did it. Any questions at all, you can come to any of us. We're here for you. But we need more people of color on the force, especially people who live in the communities they're serving.
So you're making me think that policing is a community engagement ministry, using the word for the church. So you mean policing, it's possible to wear the uniform and then bring constructive change within your community?
Most definitely. Yeah, it's again, and I said it before, you have to be confident in who you are. And police was not who I was, it's what I did. I didn't change who I was when I put on the uniform. When I went out there, when I walked down Lexington Avenue, what I did, and I was always cognizant of how I carried myself and the work I did, whether I was tussling with someone or where I was just talking to someone, because there were eyes on me at all times.
Mm-hmm.
Part of those eyes were family members. So there were people that I had to report to, no matter what I did.
Anybody else?
Yeah, one of the things that was very important that I learned throughout my career was, and I say it like I said it as part of the county reimagining force, police force, and the DA's transition team and all that. And I always said it: if we want to make changes and bridge this gap and make everybody closer, then we as law enforcement have to be true to our word. We can't just go out there and make empty promises and say, this is what we're going to do. If we give the community our word that we are going to do something, we have to do the best we can to complete that task, to follow our word, because what we have, the best thing we have, the most important thing is our word. So that was very important. And I'll give you an example. One day I was leaving work early. I was working in the projects, and I think I was going to a basketball game or something like that. And somebody stopped me. And I was thinking, I'm in a hurry, and I don't even know what was said to me. And I stood there and I listened. And when the person finished, he said, "Thank you. That's all I needed." And that thing smacked me like a ton of bricks. It said to me, I was saying to myself, who do you think you are? That somebody wants to come to you, they just need 2 minutes of your time, and you can't give them that 2 minutes. What's more important? So that was an eye opener, and it was a lesson that I never forgot. So it's just very important. If we're going to bridge that gap, we got to be true to our word.
And also one other thing, being culturally sound about, you know, our environment and our community. Years ago, when I was a midnight police sergeant in White Plains, there was a couple that always hung out at the gas station on West Post Road. They were out there every night. Something happens, they were always there. So one of the police officers like, "Why are you guys always here? Every time something happens, you're here. Why don't you go home? You know, 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning, they're there." So I pulled the officer to the side. I said, "How do you know what kind of, you know, household they have? Maybe it's hot in the house. Maybe there's things going on with the parents." I said, "You know, figure out why they're here. You know, instead of yelling at them, see if there's anything you can do to help them." Not only that, if you know what I do when I see them out hanging out, I go in the store, buy them a bottle of water, I talk to them, and you know, and they said the reason they're here is because it's better than being at home at night. They have, you know, their parents going through issues, whatever. So and I also said, if something happens, who's going to tell you who did it? They are. If you're nice to them, you know, they're here. The gas station guy's not complaining about them. They talk, you know, so. You know, and those are the things that, you know, that people with the right mindset bring, and people from the community bring, that we culturally, we know that everybody didn't grow up in a household with a white picket fence, air conditioning, you know, a dog, you know, 4 bedrooms, living room. Some people didn't grow up that way. And we realize that. I mean, I remember going to people's houses when I was a kid. My mother would tell me and my brother and I, before we go there, if they offer you something to eat, some places say no. And we knew why. It wasn't because the food wasn't good. It's because if you said yes, that means they're not eating dinner tonight. You know, so we knew that. And we grow up and you know that everybody doesn't have the same opportunities and the same resources. You bring that to the job.
Y'all put a human face on policing, you know. Today, I had a Spanish officer come here because I got a call from one of the Spanish pastors in regards to a menacing, am I saying it right? Menacing situation in regards to a member, and they needed some, you know, help. So I called the police department and I told them what the deal was, and which I'm impressed with, and that is the lieutenant said, "Pastor, they can come to the office now." I said, "I'm coming to the headquarters now." I said, "No, they don't want to do that. They want to meet at Calvary, and they want an officer, and the officer needs to be Spanish." Okay. And sure enough, and to tell the truth, and Sister Deacon Inez is on, when the officer came, I decided to take Bible study just a little bit longer, because since he was sitting up there, I thought he just needed some Jesus as well. So I carried the lesson just a little bit longer so he can get some Jesus in him. Okay, so wise as a serpent, harmless as a dove. I thought it was an opportunity for him to know Jesus. But we went upstairs and we took care of what we needed to take care of, and the interaction of these two Spanish cultures talking to each other back and forth was fantastic. And they looked at me and I said, "I don't understand a word you're saying, but y'all can go ahead." Y'all go ahead. At the end of the day, I thought about something that I had to do one time in regards to a situation with a member. So I brought that up to the officer, and the officer said, "This is something you can do as well." The pastor was being nice and stuff like that. He really didn't want to do the order of protection and stuff like that. But it was real good for the police department to hear my sensitivity in regards that they didn't want to come to the police department. They were willing to meet here. They brought a Spanish officer. They talked the language, they understood the language, and so forth and so on and stuff like that. So I really always think that people see a blue uniform, and sometimes that blue means stand back, when it really is an inviting situation for somebody to say, "Here, you can trust." Now, me and Paul grew up, we grew up in the time of Satch Page, and Frank Branham. Okay.
Right.
And those were our examples of policing. I forgot about Paul's dad, but when I think about the immediate Fairview Greenberg police,
Right.
it was them and one other individual. We didn't see nobody else. That
right.
was it. That was it. And so if you judge policing on those two or three, you may have seen it not in such a good way all the time. but y'all represent something totally different with a heartbeat connected to it. So is it hard to be a police officer?
It's challenging.
Challenging.
Yeah, good word. Yeah.
It's challenging. And hard, I don't think it's hard. It's something that I learned to love. Each and every day there was something new. And even when I was outside my community, people are people. And you learn as a police officer, one of your greatest assets is to talk to people. You can learn to talk to people. You have policing mastered.
Mm-hmm.
Getting people to do things that they don't want to do. And if you're able to do that, it makes the job so much easier and enjoyable.
Yeah, I used to say when I taught at the police academy, I was teaching all the new recruits, you get more bees with honey. It's not about, you don't get control of a situation by putting your hands on people. You use your mouth. That's the best weapon you have. And like Howard said, yeah, policing is challenging, but you have to be true to who you are, be true to your culture and true to your people. And you can't bend. You have to be true to who you are, because once you change, then you lose the respect of the whole community, and that's not something that you want. And it's taught me a lot. It helped me to grow as a person, because these guys will tell you, I was never on time for anything, and but I had to.
Don't say a word.
Yeah. They'll tell you, even today, I'm never on time. But you know what? Policing, being an officer, it made me grow, because you have to be. You can't hide behind anybody. You're out in the public. You're talking to people. You have to respond on situations. You have to handle them, no matter what it is. You have to be prepared. So, the flip side of it was challenging, but it also helped me to grow as a person.
Our time is almost over, but I don't have this information. Brother Rick, how old were you when you became a police officer?
I was 23 years old.
23. You retired at what age?
Oh boy, I can't do the math. I'm so bad. To 24 years.
You went to White Plains High School? Was White Plains High School?
I'm a graduate of Woodlands High School.
Oh,
that's part of the problem. I'm a graduate of Woodlands. So,
what happened? What happened?
The math wasn't that great.
Throw him out. We're gonna throw you out, Ricky. We're gonna throw you out. Me and Wade, proud Woodlands graduates.
There you go.
You just had a bad dose that week. That's all.
Yeah.
You didn't have me sitting on.
I haven't sitting on. Yeah.
I have been sitting on. Okay. Okay. So Howard went in at 27 and retired at 53. Wade went in at 22 and retired at 44. Paul went at 28 and left at 48.
That's right.
Rick left. Rick went in at 23. Rick?
He's doing math.
He's writing it down.
He's doing long division.
Carry the one.
47, Rick.
Let him focus.
That's right.
My point is, you can retire and still be young and do something else.
Oh,
Exactly.
That you're not stuck in a place where you gotta die in that career, or be 89 when you retire and stuff like that. So, Jason, was there any questions?
Lee, we could work 20 years.
You can work 20 years,
Work 20 years and you can retire and collect half your pay for life. Your pension starts right away.
It's 22 now.
150 will still get paid.
It's 22 now, I believe, not 20 anymore.
Okay, wow.
So
we got out right on
22
time.
years. But the most important thing is you can take the test at age 16 or 17. They won't hire you until you're 20, you know, but so you can come on at the age of 20 and then you can retire at the age of 42, you know, and during that time, now the police department, the salaries have, you know, come, you know, from what we started at, you know, it's a very good salary. They're very competitive. So the money that you're making is very good. The time off that you have, vacation, paid vacation, you get 4 weeks paid vacation, you know, which is excellent. So any young person that is looking into law enforcement, it's an excellent opportunity. And a lot of departments are paying for young people to go back to school to finish their degrees or to further their education.
And in addition to that, upon retirement, you can pay little to no money towards your health insurance for you and your family. I don't pay any. I have full family coverage for life.
Neither do I. So he benefits for life.
It's like Howard said, not on the financial aspect of it. It's also a good opportunity for you to make a lot of money and you put it aside to save and do things with it. It's a good opportunity to become financially stable also. But you don't do it for the money.
Yeah, emotionally, it's the best job in the world. I mean, if you take this job to help people, you will have so much satisfaction because there's so many opportunities to help people. I mean, I don't regret a minute of my job. I just wish I did community policing earlier. But, you know, I came back. I retired in 2008 and I came back to law enforcement after 2020 because I know there's more work to be done and more change to make. So, and, you know, it's the best job in the world.
That's also another reason why we're guardians, because it still gives us the opportunity to stay connected, but also give back. We rise by lifting others.
Well, I'm here to tell you that my chest sticks out all the time in regards to African-American police officers all the time. I've met the majority of my life, I've met some very good police officers, and I've only met one crazy one in Brooklyn one time. And because of Paul and because of Cynthia, when this particular police officer disrespected me, I found his precinct. You know, I found his precinct, I reported him, and I never forget the white shirt come down, the administrator. What is he called? The person with the white shirt.
Supervisor.
Lieutenant, inspector, chief
Supervisor.
inspector.
Supervisor. Yeah, supervisor. I'm your supervisor. He came downstairs and he said, "Do you really want to do a complaint?" I said, "Yes. I want to do a complaint because he has disrespected the uniform. You know, I have a young mentee in my car with me and he cusses and does try to do some bodily damage, and like he picked the right one. You know, he picked the right one." And he says, "Well, maybe he had a bad time when he left home from his wife." That ain't got nothing to do with me.
Right.
Nothing whatsoever. Because at the end of the day, if he does it to me, he may do it to somebody else, and y'all need to get rid of this individual. You know, some people tolerate it, can't tolerate it. But simultaneously, me and one of my young mentees in my car, my foster son rather, we're driving out of Mount Vernon, and a young police officer stops, and I said, "Okay, teaching moment. I pulled rolled down the window. I said, "Officer, may I help you?" And he said, "Dad, license registration." I gave it to him. I said, "Okay, officer, you have a good day." I said, "Good day." My foster son tensed up like he was getting ready to get beat down. He never had any negative or positive interaction with the police, but because of what he's heard and what he's felt from the community that he came from. And so I had to teach him that time. That's one individual. You can't classify everybody in the same situation. And so policing is a viable career choice. And so when I say, why not you? Why not your son? Why not your daughter? Why not your nephew? Why not your niece? You know, or if you're the right age, Why not, Joe? When does the application stop?
Well, they have application periods. I don't know when White Plains is giving their test again, but last summer, the county, towns and villages, county police, Yonkers, and Mount Vernon gave a test. And they give it every 4 years. So, but I'm not sure when White Plains is going to have their next one in New Rochelle. So that's, they go every 4 years from the time they had the last test.
Okay.
Except for the city. The cities are every 2 years. White Plains will normally give theirs every 2 years.
No, it's 4 now. It's 4. Everybody's
4.
Yeah.
Okay.
A question in chat room.
Yeah, I got it. The
Okay.
question is, what is the percentage of police officers in White Plains and Greenberg who currently on the job grew up in their neighborhoods?
It's funny. I asked the White Plains police chief this during the reform committee meetings, Reverend, and they didn't know who grew up in the area. They could just tell who lives in White Plains at that time, and the number wasn't that high. It's maybe 35%. But as far as growing up, I don't know. I don't know how we can find an answer. We probably have to survey a bunch of the officers. But that is a good question, and they do preference White Plains residents when they have the list of 2 people are tied, but one lives in White Plains. He or she will have a better shot at getting hired. But they have to go down a civil service list. So somebody in White Plains got an 80, but someone who lives in Yonkers got a 90. The person in Yonkers get the job first. Unfortunately, it's civil service laws they have to follow.
Okay. Wait, Howard, we're going to start with you with closing words about why not you be a police officer?
Well, as I said before, for young people, when we say why not you, one of the things I would say, you look at the George Floyd incident and everybody saw that, and if you were not disgusted, there's something wrong with you. And that right there, we want to tell you that is not policing. All right. And if you feel for your community, you want to be a part of your community, you have to be on the inside in order to make a change. It's a great opportunity. The pay there is up with a lot of the big organizations, the things that you can do within the police department, even for young ladies moving around, becoming detectives. A lot of your police departments, they have, motorcycles. White Plains used to have horses. We no longer have horses, but again, you have detective, we have emergency service units, even the county police department has an aviation department where we have police officer or flying helicopters. So there is a wide range of fields that you can get into. If you like using your hands, this is the job that you should look into. But it's about serving your community.
Ricky?
Okay, so real quick, and actually, I know we have very short time, but I wanted to talk about civil complaints and making a complaint. But stop it. But why not you? I if it's okay, I prefer why you, and people that, if you want to make a difference, if you want to get into law enforcement, if you want to engage into, what's going on in our life, law enforcement is an opportunity to, you're not going to save the world, trust me, but you can make a change. And even if you impact on one person, that means a life. That means a life. So, I kind of say, why you? And why you is the answer to, because I can make a difference, because I want to make a change, because the way things are going, I'm not happy with the way things are going, and I want to make a change.
Wait.
Okay, I'll give you one quick story. Years ago when I was working narcotics with Tommy Morton, I'm sure a lot of people remember Tommy, my old partner, rest his soul. We arrested this woman who was a mother. She had a job working, for the government, and she bought crack. So we arrested her, and a year later, she was crying, very upset. I'm gonna lose my job. I have kids, but we recognized she had a serious drug problem. A year later, she came to the police station asking for Tommy and I. We brought her aside, and she thanked us for saving her life. She said the night we arrested her, she had used up all her savings. She, to buy crack, and she, there's no food in her fridge. She said the next thing she was going to do was sell her body. When we arrested her, she was, she immediately got into rehabilitation. She cleaned her life up, and she said she came to thank us for saving her life. And we both sat there with tears in our eyes. So that right there is why, why not you?
President Paul?
Well, they pretty much said everything, but just wrote down a few things. Like Ricky said, why you? Because you can be that beacon of light in your community for your people. The other thing was when I worked in White Plains, when they were doing renovations and the buildings, I was able to get residents of the buildings employment working with the construction companies. Another thing we did was get people into rehab, transport them to the rehabs. One of my responsibilities was pointing out building defects like broken lights or broken windows, and I would write reports up and take them to the housing authority, and we would get them repaired right away. And another thing that we did was, if people have warrants, instead of going to turn themselves in, excuse me, if I knew that they had a warrant, and when I came to work and I went out on the road and I saw them with the warrant, and I saw them and I would talk to them and I said, hey, you got a warrant. Now I could lock them up right away, right? But they say, oh, yeah, I know. I was going to the check cashing place. Now I shouldn't be saying this, but I'm going to check cashing place. Well, I'm not working no more, so no, they can't do anything. But so anyway, I say, all right, I'll meet you at the check cashing place, and then we're gonna go in. After they went in and cashed their checks, I give them a ride in the police car to headquarters. We process the paperwork, they pay the bail, and then they're done. So that's making a difference. It's just helping people, providing the service. But I didn't do anything that was wrong, but I treated people with the respect that they deserve. And I would always say, hey, it's better to do this with me versus if I'm not here and something happens and then things get worse. And then instead of you being processed and then released, you may be sent to the county jail. But you can make a difference. That's why you should do it. Like they said, don't be on the outside complaining about people saying, this, they did that, they did this, when you can be on the inside, when you're privy to what's going on and you can help people.
There's a question. There's one general question, and Jason put it up on the chat, but I've grabbed it from the Facebook. And we're going to conclude with this because I always like to be a good steward of other people's time. So we're a little bit over. So if people start fading out, but I just want to get this question answered. And it says these words, and it says, one question I had was, what is it like for you? And they're talking about when you used to work within the department in reference to fellow officers. And I think the question was fellow officers that are not Black or not Latino.
Going first.
Okay. What it was like for us?
Yeah.
Okay. Again, challenging. There were a lot of times where, because of my size, I could walk into the locker room, things that were being said were stopped.
It's quiet.
Because of my size and my position, things were stopped. All right. And when people would say things, you put a stop to them right then and there. So they knew exactly where you stood. As Paul said, before, you'd have officers say, that weren't from White Plains, knew nothing about White Plains, but they would hear things in the locker rooms. So that's how they judged the people on Lexington Avenue or in the community, and I was fortunate enough that I was part of training. So I would get all the new recruits for a week. So I had them. So that was the time that I was able to mold them, you know, and get them to start thinking, look, don't listen to what you hear in the locker room, all right, and allow that to judge the people that you're going to go out there and serve, you know. And when we're working, a lot of the times they started utilizing the open container law, where if you were caught, you know, on the street with an open container of alcoholic beverage, a beer or something of that nature, you could be arrested. But it was a tool that the police could utilize. And I would tell the young people, you know, don't grab that man if he's sitting on the stoops at 159, you know, and he has a beer in his hand and it's in a brown paper bag. Go up and talk to him, you know, because what is the first thing that you do after a long day's work, you know, during the summertime? And majority of young people, police officers said, well, I go home and sit on my deck, you know, and I have a beer. I said, well, that man probably worked twice as hard as you did, made a lot less more money than you did, all right? And that is his backyard or his porch. So don't be so quick to judge him, all right? Go up and talk to him. Yes, you can use that as a tool, all right? And if you need to make the arrest, you can make the arrest. But first, you know, again, talk to people.
All right. Thank y'all. Thank each and every one of you so very much. I appreciate y'all. Cousin Paul, just take tomorrow off. Howard can do the job by himself tomorrow. Just take tomorrow off. You chill. You chill.
Did it today.
Howard's pastor told you to chill. Stay in the bed, rest, get some tea and stuff like that. And just rest, Cousin Paul. Listen, I thank all of you so very, very much. To the person that asked the question was interesting when you asked the question in regards to different color, in regards to race, how people responded. It's so crazy. It's even with the clergy, you know, and the clergy is the same color, but they say stupid stuff, you know. So it's what you do to eliminate the stupidity that helps other people to grow up and mature. Cousin Paul said something to me one time that one of the officers said, and I don't know if you remember, because you said one of the officers said, oh, back down there in that jungle. And I'm like, okay, I want to punch him in his face. But here's the real deal. He needs a transformation in how he sees and how he works, because sooner or later, if he doesn't get that mentality out, he's not going to have a job, you know? And so one of my greatest joys is that if I find or heard or see something crazy, I can say this for White Plains and Greenberg. I've always had accessibility to go and talk to the chief about this particular individual, and they receive what I say, and they do whatever needs to be done in regards, because one bad apple just brings a stain, you know, and I don't want that to be affected on everybody. So, Brother Howard, thank you so very much.
You're welcome.
Brother Howard was one of the first persons, real quick, Brother Howard was one of the first person that we gave him an award to when we started having police Sundays at Calvary. And that idea was birthed out of one simple thing. As the chaplain of the police of the police department and fire department, I was invited to an award ceremony for police officers at City Hall or at the public safety building. And they were talking about all this heroic stuff that police do and nobody know nothing about it. And I kept on saying, this is crazy. Don't nobody know, you know, you grab a baby, you run up, I mean, all this stuff. I said, no. And that's why we started having the Police Sunday at the church, because great things are happening in the lives of great men and women that do policing. And we ought to be thankful for the fact that we have great men that are still teaching and training these other men that's on the force right now, you know, to do what they need to do. And I'm grateful for that. And thank you for, you know, how they say with the police officers, thank you for your service, honestly. Thank you for your service. Thank you for my dinner Friday. But thank you for your service
You are
so
welcome.
very much. All
Thank you
right.
for supporting.
I just needed to add that in there just in case.
Pastor, I see this, the question in the chat, the statement in the chat about adding correction officers for a future meeting.
Oh, yeah. We'll
We
do all
can
that.
bring the
We'll do
corrections
that.
and probation.
Yeah.
You know, just
One
say the
good-
word
one-
and we're here.
Yeah. One good thing about the Rockland, the Guardians is the fact of the matter that they have members that are parole, that are corrections, and so we're able to grab from the host of them. Sister Robin,
And back.
Stand back.
Stand back.
Robin Standback, encouraged us one year to have correctional officers Sunday. So I got a picture of correctional officers, you know, at the church. So we're gonna do that as well. All of these jobs are important, and they become career choices that can help people expand themselves and expand their next generation. So thank you. I appreciate
Thank
y'all
you,
100%. Thank
you,
you
Calvary.
for
Thank you.
everybody that was on from Zoom to Facebook and to YouTube. Thank you so very much. And we thank God for this live stream because they want me to say the right word, Brother Howard. Amen. I always said broadcast, and they keep on saying you're dating yourself. I said, I sure enough am. I was born when Eisenhower was coming out of office and Kennedy was coming in. Now, what you got to say? What you got to say? I've been here a good while. All right. I said that because of Brother Jason. All right. God bless you all. Thank you. And Calvary, see y'all Sunday, 9 a.m. Sunday school. God bless.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Good night, everybody.
Thank you
Take care.
again.
Wonderful.
26 people.
That's that parchment paper, Pastor.
Good job tonight, guys. Good job.